hello there, YouTube. Hey, there's that damn motorcycle following me again. I'm just out for a little afterwork ride. Decided to take the old DR. I have left my county, now I'm re-entering my county. Drove out to a little town called Riderwood. It's mostly like a 55 plus community. That's weird. It's just, this is State Route 506. And it just goes out to Riderwood and just kind of ends. But it's pretty out here and it's a nice little road. But it's like, it's below 70 out here. When I left the house, it was 69. It's like crazy. What the hell? Now, I mentioned in the last video with the Road King that we were coming into a little cooling spell, and man, oh man, did we. I mean, it cooled right off. It's only they only got to like upper 70s maybe today. Man, after being in the mid 90s for quite a while, that feels quite cold. Being 60, I don't know what it is now. I've been gone for, hell, I don't know, half an hour. It's kind of goofing off, bombing around. So it feels like it's got cooler. It's not fingerless glove weather, or at least the shock of it, of the cooler weather, doesn't feel like it. Geez, a few months from now I'll look back at 69 degrees and think that's, you know, that's t-shirt and swim pool weather, you know. It's weird how you get used to different temperatures, and what seems hot to you before now suddenly is cool. You know, it's funny is somebody had said something about one of the Durango videos, and I didn't quite remember talking about that, so I watched it, and I was talking about, oh my god, it was hot, you know, it's been in the lower 90s, and I'm like, oh my god, lower 90s would actually feel good here as of late. And then going to, you know, Utah, where we're, you know, hovering around the 110 mark at times, you know, pretty consistently. That's hot. But then hell, you know, you can end up, I remember in Texas, you know, being 120 before, you know. That's what you consider. It's all relative to what you're used to, and your body adapts so quick. It's amazing. You know, if you go from like living around here and it's, you know, in the 70s most of the time, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in 95-degree weather, I mean, you're almost in a panic attack. You're so damn hot. You're just like, man, I gotta find a place to cool off or I'm gonna black out. And now you look back at that and just go, geez, what was hot about that? I remember Kelly and I driving through different places, and I remember, you know, we were watching the Spider, and they get up to like 96, and it's like, oh man, this is uncomfortable as hell. And then there was one spot right before we get into Moab, it was 105, and man, we were putting on cool suits and vest or whatever. We were freaking out. It's like, oh my god, this is hot. Geez, 105 once we were in Utah. You know, geez, 10 days later or 2 weeks later, whatever it was. Man, 105 was a norm. And you know, what's funny is when we're riding along, yeah, I keep looking at the temperature gauge on the Road King, and you know, we're going, wow, it feels like it. Did it just feel like it got hotter? Oh yeah, it's 105, 106. But if it stayed, you know, right around the 100, that was comfortable. We'd all gotten used to it, and 100 degrees was cool. 105, that's when it was starting. That's when you'd start kind of complaining about it a little bit. Once it got over to 105, then it was like, all right, this is too hot. You know, and with the fairing and stuff on the old Harley, you start tucking behind to get out of the wind. And if you've never ridden in really hot weather on a motorcycle, you will tuck to get out of the wind just as if it was 12 degrees outside, because the air hitting you, the temperature increases. I don't know what the term for that is. I know what I call it. I call it a godforsaken blast furnace. But yeah, that, you know, basically, really anything over 96, you know, the faster you move through the air, the hotter it gets. Man, when it gets close to that 110 mark, the air hitting you is literally burning you. It's crazy. That's those mainline tracks that run through here. Kelly's uncle lives out here somewhere. This is a little town of Vader. This is actually quite a bustling town back in the 1800s, and it had some kind of a huge factory out here. I think it was a guy that, is it the guy that invented, or maybe he was making ceramic sewer pipes, if I remember right. I may be off on that, but something happened, and he fell into hard times, and the guy ended up burning the thing down, and I think he got popped for insurance fraud or something. I don't know. You guys can look up the history of Vader, Washington. But yeah, now it's just one of those little small towns you just kind of pass through, don't give it much thought. And I don't recall if the placement of the town was because of its proximity to the railroad, or the railroad was going to come through there and they put the town there, or I don't think very often railroads that go to town. It's not a small town, but you know, in 1800s, a little town like that may have been considered a big town. You know, not a big city. Obviously, those were all established, but out here in the West, it was still nothing but mostly Indians that kind of looked fresh, didn't it? The Indians, there's fur traders out here pretty much. So it's funny, when I moved up here from Texas, you know, the education level is considerably higher in Texas. And when I moved up here, I was about 3 grades ahead of where I was in Texas. And so I took a bunch of boring courses and stuff like that, but there were some, you know, mandatory things you had to take, and one of them was Washington history. And you know, the history stuff we learned in Texas. Of course, there's Texas history. That's a mandatory thing. I think every state has a mandatory state history. And wow, Texas history is vast, to say the least. But I mean, the other history stuff, we were just expanding all kinds of, you know, different countries, whatever. You know, we come here and everything's all about the Northwest that we had to do, and there's nothing. Everything was about Lewis and Clark and fur traders, and you know, at one point the Russians had some seaports or something around areas, you know, I think down in California, or maybe even up this way too. But holy crap, I was so bored in school. I mean, it took forever. And you know, the funny thing is they wouldn't, I don't know, you couldn't like test out of it or whatever. It was quite boring. So we had a reverse problem, you know. I had our kids in school here, and then we moved back to Texas. But luckily, only my 2 girls were in school, and they were really young. But my oldest daughter, man, she had to do a lot of work to get caught up, because she moves back to Texas, and you know, they're doing 2 or 3 grades ahead of what they are here. You know, that's a tough shock. But then when we moved back, kind of made them all lazy, because they come back and kind of ran into the same thing I experienced. You know, it's like, oh my God, I was doing this years ago. You know, they're doing like basic math still here, and you know, they were doing trigonometry in Texas. I guess something like high school is like 2nd or 3rd year of college. That's crazy. I don't know if all that's still the same, or there's better standards now or whatever. I don't know, but pretty shocking. How different states are at different levels. But so be it. So it was hazy all day today. I don't know if the evening light is allowing it to look a lot better, but which I think it does. I don't think the sun makes the haze in the air glow. If you look in the distance, it still kind of looks like it. But this place gets that way when it gets when we have a long dry spell. We've had a couple of little rain splotches come through, but not enough to get it wet. It stays so wet around here so often that the ground has like a weird well, it's kind of like a sponge, I guess. So when it's dry, it just turns to silt around here. It's just nasty. And it all kicks up in the air. Of course, you got Mount St. Helens so close by too, and she deposited ash all over around here, so I'm sure that's still kicking up. Probably will long since I'm gone. How long have I been talking here, for God's sakes? I ain't been paying attention. What is it about the evening light? I can't see that thing. Shit, I have no idea. Well, I'll take you across this bridge down here, and we'll call her good. Please don't tell me. I hope I'm just seeing a reflection. That's not a bug right dead center in my lens. The old DR. Every time I ride this thing, I wonder why I don't ride it more. I am just dual sport freak or something. They're just so much fun. I don't know if I've stopped you by this little creek that goes under here. Man, oh man, does that thing look different in the winter. It's just water moving through. But see how the railing's missing off of this bridge? And see how there's like pieces of it right there? The crackheads, there was a thing here, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. Crackheads came through because all those things were made out of aluminum. They were stealing them and chopping them up and selling the aluminum. But now they've got, there's different rules for turning in metals like that. So it's useless to them now. I don't know what that, how they monitor. Wow, that's a good looking horse. Wow. I don't know how they go about monitoring that thing, but I mean, they would go through and steal copper out of buildings and stuff. They would steal copper lines out of buildings that were alive. I don't know how the hell they managed to cut the power or cut the lines without killing themselves, but hell you left your house? Well, we didn't have a problem around here, but, you know, like in the bigger cities, it was, man, it was bad. Where you can see, they came out here and stole the damn railing off of a bridge that's been there for probably 30 years. So, what do I got there? I can tell if that's a 15 or an 18. Oh, nice focus. My polarized glasses probably aren't helping here. 15 minutes, alright. I got this thing about making a second file by going over 17 minutes and about 17 and a half minutes. So I'll take you down into the town here where the little Texaco station is. I normally get gas. Well, Mount St. Helens, I can see her there, but she ain't nothing but a silhouette. There's no sense in pointing her out. You wouldn't see her even if she was glowing in the sunset. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. My little afterwork cruise on the little DR. I had no subject whatsoever. I just got to thinking about it being cold and that sad feeling that winter is coming. Look how dark it is. It's probably about 7:30 or so. Usually the sun, it looks like it's high noon at 7:30. I mean, literally, it's way up there at 7:30 in the... Well, hell, the sunset around here is... What does it get to? Like 9:45 or some damn thing? And the peak of summer solstice. Then she starts winding backwards. Oh, the dread. Oh, the dread of winter. And the extremely short days. So anyway, I'm gonna bounce. Thanks for hanging out. And thanks for all the comments and likes and all that kind of good jazz. I sure have a hard time keeping up with the comments sometimes, and I apologize for that. Not a clue. Look, she does not have a clue. She no more, if she does know I'm here, she just flat out don't care. Holy moly. Now normally I would freak out over something like that, but when you're in a town of 600 people, people know who the hell you are. Especially when you drive through here how many times a day. I ain't gonna make no scene. You start honking horns and screaming or something like that, and half the town will be standing on the front porch. So, to try to avoid too many goodbyes in my goodbye, I'm gonna let you go right now. I'll give you one last thank you very much. And for me it's evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Have a good one. Take care now. Bye bye.